Welcome back to Telltale Books. Moving on with my J.G. Ballard series right now, his 8th published story, titled The Waiting Grounds. And this is the first one so far on this journey through all of his works that I'm going to give top tale status to. And I'll tell you why. First of all, The Waiting Grounds was published in New Worlds magazine, the probably the most famous British science fiction magazine before Interzone. Issue number 88 for November of 1959. So we're nearing the end. We're at the end of the 50s for Ballard, and moving into probably his most active period coming up. The Waiting Grounds is a novelette where it's a little unusual for Ballard, because Ballard always stated that he didn't like stories of the far future or aliens or going into outer space. He preferred works that were grounded in our world, that were grounded in something close to reality at least. And so he didn't like to write your typical Earthman on a spaceship at a distant star. But in The Waiting Grounds he did. He broke with, and maybe because it was early, maybe with this story he tried it and realized that this wasn't for him, and so he went back to stuff that's a little more grounded in the here and now. But in this story he does. He goes into outer space, he goes to a distant planet, and he has aliens, or at least an artifact. And so you're on a distant planet where the planet is still very actively volcanic. And it's somehow in some sort of situation. He doesn't really give the details of it because Ballard wasn't a physicist. He didn't get into all that, all the mathematics and astrophysics of what he was doing. But this planet somehow has very extreme temperature ranges from minus 30 at night all the way up to 160 degrees during the day. He doesn't say if it's Fahrenheit or Celsius. If it's Celsius, it's even more dramatic, but Fahrenheit is bad enough. But anyway, you don't want to be caught out in the heat of the day, and you don't want to be outside at night because the temperatures are just so dramatic. But it does have volcanoes, and the landscape does have jungles. And a couple of guys that claim to be geologists went into the jungle and kind of disappeared. And at the start of this story, The Waiting Grounds, a guy comes to work at the planet, and he's replacing a guy that's leaving. And the guy that's leaving tells him about the geologists that disappeared and takes him and shows him their camp that's still there. There's no sign of them. Well, then the main character decides he wants to, after this first guy leaves, the main character decides he wants to find out more, wants to try and find these geologists. The first thing he finds out is they're probably not geologists because they have all these crates that they had delivered to the planet that contain Bibles from all different religions. You don't use those in geology. So he's very curious about these guys, very curious about the fact that they have all these Bibles. And so he goes out into the jungle looking for them, goes out trying to trace where they went to when they left their camp. And he eventually stumbles upon this area, kind of depression area, in the center of which is this artifact, kind of almost like a Stonehenge type thing, except it's much more advanced. And it's these 5 really tall, clean, monolithic type things that have hieroglyphs on them. And to say any more would be to spoil the story for you. I'll just say it reminds me a lot of Arthur C. Clarke. Okay. And it was brilliantly done. Very imaginative, well realized, good characters. It's just a novelette, so it's not real long, but he packs a lot into it and packs a good punch with it. And it's a very excellent, but more traditional science fiction than what Ballard would typically write. But I like that. I definitely like that. And I definitely love this story. And I recommend it. It's the first. I mean, I've read other Ballard works that I know are going to be top tales when I get to them. But I want to reread them. But in going back to the beginning and rereading everything in order like this is the first one I'm stumbling upon that I think really goes far enough to be called a top tale. It's very well written, very good story, very science fictional, everything that I love. Reminds me a lot of Arthur C. Clarke, which I love, and has Ballardian kind of surreal touches to it, so I love that too. And well, I read it, of course, in my complete stories of complete short stories of J.G. Ballard. Excellent book. It's no longer published new, but I believe there are plenty of copies around. If you look for it online, you can buy one. And it is an excellent book. Or, of course, the original issue of New Worlds. You can get a hold of a copy. Of course, it is online for free as a PDF if you're okay with reading it that way. So that is number 8 for J.G. Ballard. Number 9 will be a short story published a month later in December in Science Fantasy magazine, Science Fantasy number 38. It's called Now Zero. Never read that one. Be interested to find out more about it. I hope you'll come back and join me. Till then, like us, subscribe to us, leave comments. Have you read this story, The Waiting Grounds? Sorry, brain fart, I had to look it up quick. Have you read The Waiting Grounds? What did you think? Do you think it's typical Ballard? Do you think it's him trying to imitate Arthur C. Clarke? Do you think it's brilliant like I do, or do you think it falls short somewhere? Let me know what you think. I'm interested to see. And come on back for more. I'll be doing a lot more videos.